It's about just how it's looked at, you know?
The stigma, the whole, like, there's not enough understanding.
I think people find overweight people offensive. I think people just have a negative, visceral reaction to people that are overweight.
If that hasn't got your juices flowing, oh God, I don't know what will, because that cracked me up.
Queen Latifah has been my homegirl for so many years, and I love her to death. I met La long before she was the queen of rap, an Oscar-nominated actress, and an Emmy-winning producer. We were just teenagers when I saw her perform at a club in Baltimore where I grew up. Since then, our bond grew into a beautiful friendship.
Ooh, what's up with that break, Jada?
We've worked together many times, including co-starring in Set It Off and Girls Trip. I've always admired La for being a trailblazing icon, pushing boundaries and reshaping the conversation around women and beauty.
So this episode of Red Table Talk made for very awkward watching as they all sit around with family friend Queen Latifah and pretend that obesity is not a health problem.
She's never let Hollywood's image of the perfect body stop her from becoming one of the greatest entertainers of our generation.
So I do just want to take a second here to say, in all seriousness, power to Queen Latifah. She's managed to have a very successful career in show business that has spanned now several decades, all the while suffering from a clear disadvantage, which is being overweight, which is a disadvantage, particularly if you're a woman in show business. So, you know, as I said, in all seriousness, good for her. But can we, as a culture, as a collective, just one last time before we throw every last vestige of everything we ever were off the cultural cliff, can we just for one last time show an iota of appreciation for those people that come up on your feed, guys and girls, every time you click that little magnifying glass on Instagram? You hypocrites. The algorithm doesn't lie. Mark Zuckerberg knows what you like.
Let me get that whip. Can I drive? I'm just gonna let it roll. What?
You guys are gonna love this. Queen is driving the golf cart herself right now. Our golf cart.
That's Queen all day.
Speed bump.
And then she's popping wheelies.
This is what it's like.
We're lucky it's not a motorcycle.
I don't know, right, but is that possibly the last fat joke they made before she arrived? They've been doing that the whole time. Willow really cracked up there.
Lucky it's not a motorcycle.
You have a ride. And that's how we bust in the dough.
Come on out here, La.
Is that my name being called? I think I just heard my name being called. Who done let me in the door? Who done let me in the door?
Every fucking episode, it's the entrance, it's the entrance. It doesn't matter if it's a guest, doesn't matter if it's Jada, Willow and Adrienne. It's just they enter in the room. They can't do it in a normal manner. Just fucking chill out. Chill the fuck out. Why does it have to be like that?
Oh, my love. What are you doing? How are you? La.
JP?
That's all I'm gonna say. So you're on a mission.
I am on a mission right now to change the stigma associated with obesity.
Yeah.
Yes. It's about time.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They all agree. They all agree. The incredibly thin, beautiful women all agree with Queen Latifah. It's about time, says Willow there, chiming in. Oh, poor Willow. Got a hoodie up like a stroppy 13-year-old.
Let's take these numbers. 2 in 5 Americans obese.
Right.
4 in 5 Black women.
Right.
Look at that face. Yeah, that's too many, isn't it?
Obese.
Right.
But we just look at ourselves different.
Yeah.
Right.
Because some things, you know, they're cultural issues. Black women, we've learned to love through all this weight and all this
All of it.
judgment.
Yeah.
So
You know, I'm sure that in amongst all of this vague, inane, meaningless drivel, there is an interesting conversation to be had about what our relationship should be with obesity, right? But I just wish sometimes people would be a bit more specific about what they say. You know, what do you mean that black women have learned to love through all of the weight? More so than white women? More so than men? They've learned. Teach us!
So I'm involved with a campaign called It's Bigger Than Me.
Right.
It's about the shame attached to weight, the stigma attached to it, what people talk about, how they talk about you, the little words people drop.
Yeah.
I think if people understood it more, then it could change the conversation.
Right. Why now for you?
What happened was I hooked up with a trainer, Jeanette, and she broke down this
Jeanette.
whole, you know,
Yeah.
Jeanette.
Jeanette, yes.
Well, if you know Jeanette, then you know Jeanette is
She's
like,
not about the play.
no, and she has degrees.
Right.
And she's scientific and mathematic. She was showing me different body types, and she's like, this is what your BMI is, this is what your weight is, and you fall into this category of obesity. I was mad at that.
Yeah, same.
Pissed me off.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I mean, I'm just thick.
Right.
But I'm saying. And she said you are 30% over where you should be. You know, and I'm like, obesity?
Right.
So I was like, no.
Right.
Because I didn't see myself that way.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's the problem. And that's why I'm here.
Right. Got
Because
it.
that word brings a connotation with it.
Right.
Okay.
And the connotation is the problem.
Right.
Now, I promise you there are some funny bits coming up in this video, but I do have to make one more serious point, and it is that, there are a load of negative connotations that come with the word obesity, and somebody being classified as obese, same as when we see someone's an alcoholic or they smoke too much or take too many drugs. And there are a load of negative connotations that come with that because they're self-destructive behaviours that are the result of bad life choices. Yes, at the same time, we can have compassion for those people and realise that those bad life choices are the result of an unfortunate mixture of their nature and nurture, their genetics and their upbringing that force them to make these decisions. So, on the one hand, I do have some compassion. Of course, on the other hand, I do realise that there is a stigma and perhaps always will be a stigma around obesity because it is a symptom of self-destructive behaviour patterns.
Obesity and overweight are medical terms used to classify how much body fat a person has. Body mass index, or BMI, is the standard for calculating body fat based on height and weight.
It's about just how it's looked at, you know?
The stigma, the whole, like, there's not enough understanding.
I think people find overweight people offensive.
So Adrienne's stream of thought here that doesn't quite fit the narrative of the show made the final cut somehow. I don't know how that got past Jada in edit.
I think people just have a negative, visceral reaction to people that are overweight.
Shut up. I have a negative, visceral reaction.
They gotta figure that
that's
out.
part of what Lai's talking about.
Right.
And I
It's
think
how people are treated, how people feel
looked
about
at.
you, how people look at you.
And I think at the end of the day, we put far too much attention on the exterior aspect of a person, especially when you look at some of the upsetting research. According to experts, weight prejudice is the last remaining social acceptable bias. Numerous studies have found children as young as 3 believe harmful stereotypes and biases toward overweight people, including that they are lazy, weak-willed, unsuccessful, and unintelligent.
Lazy, weak-willed, unsuccessful, unintelligent, lack willpower, non-compliant with weight loss programs. There's no way they did that in one take. There's just no way. How could they read that list out and keep a straight face while sitting next to an obese woman? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I think I might be the problem, to be honest. In all honesty, I think I might just be very immature. I would not finish the day. I would not finish that in one day's shoot.
That they are lazy, weak-willed, unsuccessful, and unintelligent.
Kind of reminds me of how people think about Black people.
Willow is just unintentionally hilarious all the time, every week.
A recent news story revealed some shocking statistics about weight discrimination at work. For every 6 pounds a woman gains, her hourly pay drops 2%. People who are overweight are hired less, promoted less, and paid less.
And therein lies the fundamental problem with statistics, right? Because imagine, just imagine that list of adjectives that were read off there applied to a greater percentage of overweight people than it did to healthy weight people, right? Just imagine, just bear in mind, right? I'm not saying this is necessarily true, but that statistically, you're more likely to be fat if you're lazy. And statistically, you're more likely to get paid more if you're not lazy. I'm going to get cancelled. Not enough people are going to watch it.
That I totally see that.
Yep.
I didn't know
totally
that was a thing. I didn't know that was
absolutely
allowed.
It's not allowed, Willow. You can't just go, you fat bastard, I'm paying you less. Yeah, it's not because it's not allowed, you fucking moron. So what are you saying?
I mean, some people just have different kinds of body types.
Absolutely.
Some people naturally are just born just bigger.
And that's why I was just shocked. I was like, obese? Nah.
I didn't connect with this obese word as applied to me. I just thought I needed to stop eating something and get in the gym. But it did wake me up in terms of it being not just a physical thing. This can be a genetic thing, a hormonal thing.
Meaning it's a different kind of management, possibly.
That argument, it does bother me because people are kind of playing on a thing that we all know that it's kind of true what's being said there. It's a half-truth. And again, it's just there's no clarity in what's being said. Let's get specific, right? The vast majority of people, if they're eating a healthy, balanced diet, not taking in too much sugar and too many carbohydrates, and they're doing regular exercise, are going to be a healthy weight. The vast majority of people, if they're binging on sugar all the time and not doing any exercise, are going to be overweight. That applies to the vast majority of the population. And of course, there are people who are exceptions to the norm, of course. And there are, of course, a load of genetic factors that give us proclivities for certain behaviours. You know, there's nurture factors as well, which I've mentioned before. Of course, trauma can cause you to seek comfort in food or whatever. Of course, all of those things require compassion and understanding. Absolutely, 100% back. You know, I'm with you all the way. But let's not pretend that the vast majority of us could not be a healthy weight, because that's just not true. It's just not true.
But I know a lot of people who are actually quite thin and are not healthy.
Exactly.
But that
Exactly. Yeah. What are you saying, Willow? What are you saying, Queen Latifah? That you know thin people who are Who are unhealthy, right? Okay, so let's take the analogy that they've made already. I think I skipped it in the video, but they've made the analogy about addiction, right? Would you say to an alcoholic, you know what? I know loads of teetotalers who've got cancer, so you might as well just drink yourself into a stupor every night, you drunk bastard. Since this law came in where all the motorcyclists have to wear helmets, you know, every single dead motorcyclist, what are they wearing? A helmet. When I was younger, people would ride their motorbikes all over the place. No helmets. Loads of them didn't die. You know? Loads of them. Draw your own conclusions.
Also, when you talk about Black women and obesity, when I think about what foods we have access to.
That's what I was going to say.
Systematic.
Did Willow just say the word systematic with zero context?
That's what I was going to say.
The environments that we're in, right?
Yes. The price of groceries.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
the
ridiculous.
access to healthy foods.
It's ridiculous.
You know,
Yeah, so your servants tell you.
there's no reason why we should be eating what we've had to eat.
Right? And so...
And that's historically. I mean,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's historic. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is absolutely a historical problem, this morbid obesity crisis. Yeah, it's, poor people have always been overweight, I think. So in the next couple of minutes of the video, which I'm going to skip through because Queen Latifah goes into quite a few details of anecdotes and things that have happened to her throughout her career, being asked to lose weight for parts in TV shows and stuff like that, and being tall and overweight. She's obviously had problems with buying clothes, and she makes a few legitimate points, and it's just not that interesting. I don't know. If you want to go and see the real Red Table Talk, take a hike. I'm here to have some laughs.
Right?
Lizzo has taken really amazing strides in that direction, putting the beauty of bigger-bodied individuals.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for keeping me happy, for keeping me alive. Thank you.
I bet you anything Adrienne is feeling that strong, visceral reaction right now. If anyone's offended by overweight people, that would tip them over the edge.
Thank you.
She has created a language around this that is different from any language I've heard.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you saying? I don't understand. Yeah, that's about all I can take. It's madness. When's Will coming back?